Hey guys, since the first time we saw footage of the Asura Breaker, the punching version of Breaker, a lot of people have been saying that Asura Breaker is pretty much just better GT. And having now played GT for an entire month, and also having played Sura as well, I can confidently say that they are actually very, very different classes. Now, don't get me wrong, there are similarities between the two classes, but the thing is, I would say the playstyle of the two classes is actually very different. And just because somebody likes GT doesn't mean that they'll like Sura. And I'm going to explain here. So, at a high level, both classes look very similar. They are both front attacking classes, and when you hop into their identity, they are using their auto attacks at the front of the boss and slamming it in the face, right? The biggest difference, of course, that most people see at a face value is that Sura is much better than GT because the punching duration is much shorter than that of GT. And that is true. That does make Sura a much better class than a GT destroyer. But at the same time, they're very different because the way you get to that punching stance, that GT stance, is very different for the two classes. And let me explain. I would kind of compare GT to a bit of like a Surge Deathblade, and Sura as more of like a Igniter Sorceress. And that's because for GT, you are actually getting into your gravity training pretty often. You're getting into your gravity training maybe every 10 to 12 seconds. Whereas with Sura, you're probably getting into your punch form, your Sura stance, probably upwards of like 30 to 60 seconds each time, depending on how the boss moves or phases or things like that, and how efficient you are with getting your gauge up. So rather than a class like Surge, where you're throwing out surges every like 9 seconds, which is like GT, you're going into GT every like 10 to 12 seconds, Sura is more of like an Igniter Sorc, where it's not like you're getting into that Z form extremely often. And because of that, you're actually playing like an Igniter Sorc because if you think about it, Surge Blade just kind of goes and throws out their surges basically whenever they have it, right? They go to the back, throw out their surge as quickly as possible, or else you lose damage. It's not like you can really run around with your surge kind of up and not throw it and really pick your spots. You really have to throw it out as quickly as possible and also hit the back at the same time. Whereas with Igniter Sorc, whenever you go into Igniter, you can kind of pick and choose your windows a little bit, right? You want to wait for that moment where you are going to maximize your damage and maximize the amount of time the boss is standing still. That way you can actually land your double Doomsday. And also probably communicate with your Bard or support, whatever, tell them the 3-bar, whatever it is, right? That's kind of more the playstyle of Sura, because you're not going to get that many chances to get into your punch form, your Sura stance, compared to a class like Surge, compared to a class like GT. It's taking you 2, 3, 4 times as long to get to that stance, so you really need to take advantage of being in that stance, having high uptime, because much like GT, Sura also does the majority of its damage in the Sura stance. So if you're hitting the boss and the boss turns, you're losing out on a lot of damage as Sura. Yes, for GT it's the same exact way, but because you're going into your GT stance more often and it also lasts longer, right? You, one, can't guarantee that the boss stands still for that entirety of like the 10, 11 seconds that you're bonking the boss for. But two, because you are going into that form more often, you can afford to have 1 or 2 more GTs be kind of not perfect, right? But Sura, you don't have that luxury. You really need to maximize and choose the right timing to go into your Sura stance, or else that 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds that you took to charge up your Sura, that is all gone. You took that time to charge up that gauge, and all that damage has gone to waste because you chose the wrong timing. So again, I've talked about this before in my previous video yesterday, talking about Sura versus King's Fist or Brawl King. But you really need to know the fights in and out to play Sura well. Of course, you need to do that for GT as well, but I'd say even more so for Sura because you only have like, that 5, 6, 7 second window when you're punching, and then you have probably like a 30 to 40, 50 second cooldown on it. So you really need to take advantage of the boss and its patterns and know what to do exactly at the right time. So, if you're looking for a class that can kind of just like mindlessly go into Sura form and punch the boss like crazy, I'm not entirely sure if this is the class that you're looking for because it is a lot more methodical than you think, and you're not going to be punching as often as you think compared to like a GT, for example. If you kind of like that playstyle of just standing in front of the boss and whacking at it, maybe GT is a little bit more of your playstyle because it really is just that. You get into GT as fast as you can, which is like 10 to 12 seconds, then you pop it at, you can pop your taunt or something like that, and then you pop your GT and start whacking at the boss. Whereas, again, with Asura, you really need to be more methodical about it. You need to kind of hold on to it and make sure you have the right window, the right opportunity to really go in and hit the boss in the front. So that's kind of my learnings from playing the class and comparing and contrasting the two classes. I would say that definitely for sure, Asura is the better class, hands down. Breaker is the better class compared to Destroyer, hands down. But I would say that GT might be a lot more fun for some people because you do get to enter GT stance so much more often compared to the Asura Breaker. So at the end of the day, it's up to you whether or not Asura is the class for you. It's going to be very, very strong regardless. It's going to be really powerful. But, at the end of the day, maybe it might not be the playstyle for you if you are looking to play a class that does jump into its identity very, very often. Hopefully this video helped you understand Asura Breaker a little bit more and kind of its intricacies. Let me know down in the comment section if this has changed at all, your thoughts about the class. And as always, please remember to hit the like button, hit the sub button, ring the bell for notifications, and also I stream every single night on twitch.tv/MisoXShiru. So hopefully I'll see y'all on my stream, but if not, hopefully I see you guys on the next video. All right, guys, peace out.